Hi everyone, this is Diego Amanto, and I am going to give you an updated version, a really streamlined version of our platform pitch that'll let you set the table appropriately for further discussions. And what we'd like to do is sort of set up this pitch with a little bit of context in terms of the trends that are driving the need for our product. This has been evolved over the march towards us being a public company and this messaging being tested in the market, and it resonates. And so we want to bring those things together. And so just to kind of get us started, the way I like to start the conversation is to set the context, which is that businesses are becoming more and more complex every day. The application environment that a business runs on is becoming more complex. We have a list here of a bunch of different workflows, and these workflows are the business. And when you look behind this, what drives a workflow is often a bunch of technology that needs to work together, right? If you look at something like financial close and reporting, you can see there's a lot of systems that are involved in closing reports. Or if you go down to even a healthcare industry type of process like clinical trials or patient management, you can see there's a number of different products, software products that have to work together to get the process done. And the problem is that these software solutions are not the process. They need to be stitched together to make the process run. And that's often a human that has to be the glue in between these different software products. Because of this complexity and proliferation of more and more applications, you can see a stat there, 70% increase of applications in the enterprise over the last 4 years. I mean, that's incredible. And it's driving less productivity. And it's making it so that people have to spend a lot of time on manual tasks, 10 billion hours a day on manual tasks that people spend their time doing. And these are not, this is not where value is created. This is making the business run. And so, we see customers attempting and to put these together through automation, and automation is not new. Automation has, the vision of automation has, since the dawn of computing, really, since the dawn of man, we've been wanting to automate work. But when it comes to computing, we've been trying to get automation going since the beginning, really, of the computer era. And it hasn't necessarily worked because the traditional approaches have been through APIs or building an infrastructure through like BPM, where you could connect components together in a programmatic way, and that has just been challenging. Then all of a sudden comes along RPA, right? And what's different about RPA is that it's a different approach to automation and automating a process and stitching together workflows. It is not the back-end approach through APIs and through programmatic. Now, it works really well with that. Some parts of the process you want to use an API, and that's the case, that's great. But our approach, emulating human behavior, actually having a software robot emulate those 10 million hours that people spend a day stitching work applications together, has completely changed the nature of what an automation project is. And so our robots work to emulate human behavior because they see, think, and do like a person does. They can see what's happening and understand what's happening on the screen through AI and our AI computer vision. We have built robots that can understand what's happening on the screen. And that comes through a lot of trial and error. It's why it's not easy to break into this market. It's why we have a lead that keeps extending, because we have the best computer vision. And we understand what's happening on the screen better than anyone. And that's really important to RPA. Like I said, tons of trial and error. It's taken years to perfect this technology. And it's also taken a lot of data in the form of application data to train our models on what is happening on the screen so the robot can infer and understand what they're looking at. Additionally, our robots do, right? That's core RPA. You set up a workflow, you tell the robot what it is that their, order of operations is, and they go ahead and they actually take on that work and they conduct that work. And that's part of what the robot does. But then there's also the layer of think, right? Giving the robots the ability to make decisions, to handle complexity. That sort of rounds out how we emulate human behavior. And all that sits on top of sort of that automation layer, that application layer that we talked about, an automation layer that kind of sits on top of applications where the robots do the work. And so that's kind of the big challenge out there, the trend that's driving adoption or driving demand, and what our core technology is that enables that. Now, we take that one step further by talking about, our vision that we're hearing driven by how our customers are thinking about where automation is taking them. And it's this idea of the fully automated enterprise. Now, we've done a QRT on the fully automated enterprise, so I'm not going to spend a ton of time on this, but just in terms of the narrative and the story, where you want to take the customer next is set up the scenario, and then you say, and this is where you want to end up. This is the end state that you're looking to get to. You want to craft the perfect blend between people and robots working together. So you start by figuring out what can be automated and assign that work to robots. If it can be automated, it should be automated. Let the robots do the mundane, the repeatable work, the highly repetitive, the stuff that is, humans are not really, it's not leveraging human talent, which is for handling complexity, making decisions, abstracting, making connections between different ideas and concepts. There's a lot of work that still needs to be done, and that humans people are really the only way to get it done. And so you want to assign that automatable work to robots so that the people can focus on that higher value work. And when you do that, you want to give them a robot at their side so that they can actually even work even closer to robots and offload work to robots in a way that augments what they do. Along the way, you want to give them the ability to actually even not just work with robots, but program robots, so to speak, build their own automations. When people at the front line of the work that gets done can decide on their own what to automate, that accelerates the adoption of automation inside the business because they're really the best judges of how their work could be automated on a granular micro level. And so you want to give people the ability to develop on their own and really open up, a wider range of developers in the business by giving them tools that require less sophisticated programming skills. And then last but not least, the fully automated enterprise unleashes AI across every facet of work. So you want to, we talked about robots can think. That's going to increasingly get better and better. They're going to be able to handle more use cases and more complexity while still, working hand in hand with people. But they're going to get smarter and they're going to be able to take on more work. And also you want to leverage AI to figure out what to automate. So it's great when you got people building their own automations, but you also want to look at the data on how the work gets done in the business at a more aggregate level and get AI to help you figure out what to automate. And that's what a fully automated enterprise looks like. Now, our product delivers the fully automated enterprise, and that's what we'll get into next. So that's sort of my preamble into talking about product. So where I think you want to go next, and where I go next into the conversation is, if you think about what I just walked you through, what happens is that our product is not just a tool to handle these one-off use cases that, that are limited in scale and scope. You want to position our platform as this new layer in the application stack that has an enduring role in helping to execute, automate old processes, but even as they start to spin up new processes, become the entry point for new processes. And that's when if you can get a customer thinking, now we have customers who start to think this way, if you get them looking at us as not just, this the short-term solution, but the new layer that sits on top of my fragmented application stack, you really start to ignite growth in the accounts. You have to assert that this fragmentation problem is there. It's real. We talked about all those new applications, mixing SaaS with their existing mainframe applications. There's still that stuff hanging around. That stuff's not going away anytime soon. And you have all this homegrown stuff that they've built over the years, and it's just not working together. But if you put that automation platform on top of it, you actually can start to change the way they think about what the role automation plays. And I think the best way to kind of explain this is to give them an example. And the example that I love is, what happened during in the U.S. It's where I live, so I have this example really stands out to me is during the PPP loan program process where the government was making loans to small businesses to help them survive during the early days of the pandemic. The banks had to figure out how to actually deal with these applications and distribute the money. And the banks have all the technology in the world to throw at a situation like this where they need to spin up a new process fast. And the vast majority of them, which are our customers, they decided to use UiPath to build out these new processes because they said, what is the fastest way to get this going? We could, go the purest route and build a new application or a new workflow through our, the more comprehensive methods of building out applications. But instead, what we want is just a robot to go and work in between the existing applications so that we can get this spun up fast. And they did. And it was a huge success. It processed the majority of the PPP loan applications processed by RPA. And so that is a really good example of how we sit now on top of their existing applications as the new layer. I personally think that if we can get customers thinking this way, this is going to be where we explode even bigger than we are right now and where the market thinks that we're going. I think there's this education to do. So this is how I would set up where we sit. And then as far as, the products themselves, and that's where I get into, let me walk you now through what the products are. And I do it by going through the life cycle. This is a simplified version. I'm not going to go into every product, and I don't think you should either at your first conversation. I think you want to set up the next conversation to go into a deeper dive of product. So I would just do here's the automation product, end-to-end automation platform that we have and what those stages of the life cycles are. And so I always start with the robot. That's where your first education you should do. It all starts with the robot. And you want to, once again, give them an education and emphasize our differentiation in UI automation and make them understand how it's different than solely working with APIs, how robots are, using emulation plus APIs to execute work and have them understand how powerful it is to have robots working with APIs and how powerful emulation is. That's the critical, place I start for them to think about what a robot is. Then from there, you can get into things like an attended robot, an unattended robot, get into how they actually, what the products are that carry this out, whether it's on the desktop or it's working in the back office. But get them to understand robot, emulates what humans do, and they carry out this work in, based on that seat they do that I talked about a little bit earlier. So, that's where I typically like to start the conversation. Now, I've been recently going to build next, and I know some people like to start with discover. I found when you tell the story in this circular diagram, it actually makes more sense to go to build. But you can go to discover next. It really depends on where how you want to do it. But I like to go through build, and the reason why is when you explain robots carry out automations that you've built, then you want to talk about, well, how do you build them, right? And there you talk about our suite of tools that really enable the creation of automations. Talk about how these are visually oriented, low-code development tools that cater to all development personas along the spectrum. from the citizen developer, right, from the business person who is a little bit technically savvy and wants to build their own automations, to an RPA developer, right, whose focus is specifically on automation, that's their job, to the pro developer that wants to have more powerful capabilities in their automation development platform. We cater to all those personas, and we give them the tools that they need along the range of the spectrum there. And what's great about this is that this is a benefit that we want to, I think, talk about is, our tools create development capacity for them. Our customers are all sitting there with a backlog of things that need to be developed, and if you can, give this type of automation work to citizen or RPA developers, it adds a whole new pool of people that can actually start developing inside the business, and it really frees up your pro dev muscle to do other things. And so we have all those capabilities, and we cater to all of those different personas in the business. Where I typically go next is I'd like to then talk about managing all this, right? We have all the management capabilities they need so that they're comfortable with having automation happening in their business and us in their environment, especially when it comes to citizen development. Here I talk about how we enable scale to orchestrator, sort of as a control plane, and as this is part of the Q2 QRT training, with the 21.4 release and the release of Automation Ops, I think we could really elevate that governance message around policy-based administration. It's not the most glamorous thing to talk about, but it's really important because that's where the market is right now. We're talking to CIOs, we're talking to IT, we're talking about how do you take this across the whole enterprise in a managed way. And our capabilities here, our products in the manage pillar, are designed for exactly that conversation and exactly that control that they're looking for. And so here we have tools for everything, from managing your automations, to managing your test cases, to managing your AI ML models with AI Center. And so, sorry, I forgot to move that there, but there you go. I was talking about manage there. The next thing I would talk about is sort of how we enable all this end user engagement with our platform. Now, this is where you need to claim a broad vision. We are going to be everywhere and enable every interaction model of end user working with automation, right? We've thought about this. This is core to how we see automation be taking hold in the business. People are going to be working with their robots. And that means that they're going to be working with an assistant on their desktop. They're going to be working with apps for web-based, immersive user experiences across multiple multi-screen, rich multi-screen end user experiences. And we're going to have deep integration with chatbots. So here, the point you want to make is that we're working with, we manage all of those engagement points for the end user and the automations to work together. And we think deeply about that. We'll continue to think deeply about that. And then from here is where I like to talk about sort of the Discover pillar. So in the Discover pillar, what we do is that we're going to help them discover more opportunities for automation. They could think about this as a nervous system for their processes. We're going to look at their workflows. We're going to help them understand how their work gets done. And then along the way, we're going to highlight those opportunities for automation. Process mining, task mining for scientific discovery, Automation Hub for crowdsourced discovery. We have all those tools to help them get a better sense of how the work gets done in their business. And what's unique and special about us is that we are also closing the loop through the rest of the platform. And so when you find what to automate, then we give you all the tools that you need to go ahead and actually create those automations. And so now you have a full end-to-end platform that helps you manage your program. Last but not least, we want to talk a little bit about governance and measurement. That ring outside governance, we talked a little bit about it in the manage component, but that is a place that we can really drive some differentiation and reinforce our strength in governance. We're going to help them manage, really make sure that this program is governed appropriately. We're going to give them the tools to measure their automation programs, both operational performance and ROI. And then we're going to also help them really, we're going to help them deploy automation the way that they feel comfortable in accordance with their, how they handle infrastructure. The freedom of choice, right? Whether you want to use our SaaS service for your automations, or you want to deploy this on-prem, or you want to do this in a hybrid model, it's your choice. We're getting to parity across the board on, we release first in the cloud and then bring it to on-prem. And so our products are going to be the same in both environments. And so really, the message there is whatever is important to them. And basically that's how I end it, and that's where I stop with the product. I wanted to just share here at the end one last thing. I have a slide here on our proprietary technological differentiation. This is a summary of the things I talked about already. UI automation and AI computer vision. So if you want to just kind of close out with this is what we do unique that no one else can do the way we do it. Our strength in UI automation and AI computer vision, market leading. This is infused with ML and AI across the whole platform. You can see here a screenshot, document understanding with the human in the loop. We have our own native models built into the platform, but which are also through our MLOps platform, you can bring in your own models or your partner models. And then finally, our modern and democratized development platform, right, for all catered to all those user personas. And so that's our pitch, now the platform pitch now in Q2 2021. And I hope you have a great quarter, happy selling, and much success and good luck.
Thank you for completing this course. For more information, please bookmark our partner portal, your single place to go for partner news, product information, sales positioning, and support materials. Our partners are a very important part of our business, and we greatly appreciate if you take a moment to complete the following feedback survey and share your input into how we can continue to improve our partner training and enablement program. Thank you.